How do you think the first year of the Trump administration went? What grade do you give it? And in what category? And what should the categories be? I'm Chris Cuomo. Welcome to the Chris Cuomo Project. This is about how the consensus is, how the public feels. So it can't just be about me. So I had to bring in the we. Here we have what I like to call the threesome, much to the displeasure of both Greg and Amrish. But we each have our own circles. We have our own worlds, music, entertainment, whatever I am. And it's good to get a feel. So here's what I did. I brought in the guys to review where we were the last time on Trump, and we're going to pick categories that we think make sense in measuring the administration 1 year in, and then we'll go through grades that are a reflection of not just what we think, but what we're hearing around us. Make sense? Make sense?
100%. Except for the insistence on the threesome.
The threesome.
You put it in the text chain. You're like, all right, we're doing the threesome this week. And there's like a sexual thing to that.
No.
Some people, when they have...
To you and me? What are the people in the comments?
When some people have sex with multiple partners, they call it a threesome. That's the only thing about the language.
Is it multiple partners or just two?
Well, there's three. There's three people.
Oh.
That's multiple, I guess.
Yeah, I guess it's multiple.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly more than one.
Well, as we all know from experience,
Amrish, you're
right?
okay with it, right? Because you were right down with whatever it was, right? I was like, hey, we're going to do a threesome, and you said I'm down.
Yes, I did. Those were my exact words, actually.
Yeah, I'm down.
I didn't say I wasn't down. I was just trying to clarify.
Just trying to tell you. So let's see if we can come to an agreement of categories. What are you thinking?
I'm going down the list that we used last time because you checked in with him 6 months in, and so I went back and went over each category and each grade you gave him. Your printer is busted, so last time we had a very nice little grade. So I have a marker and some paper for you, so you'll write down his little letter grade for how you think it is now and hold it up to the camera, not just to help the audience, but to help the YouTube people.
I'll tell you something. I don't know how this happened, Amrish. You may know. Last time I did it, there was this viral moment of me saying, Trump gets an A. I don't remember what I gave him an A in, but I know that his average had to be like a C minus.
Yeah. I don't even remember. Do you remember what it was?
It was, so you gave him an A or a D, depending on if you're a MAGA supporter, in the category of civil rights / democracy. Why don't we revisit that right now? Do you give him an A or a D in civil rights / democracy?
Democracy?
Or do you change the grade entirely?
Yeah, I mean, right now.
Well, write it down. You gotta, and make it bold because it's a thin tip. This has nothing to do with the threesome. I'm talking about the quality of the marker.
Look, right now, when it comes to rights, democracy, and the vibe in the country in terms of where we are in our level of freedom, you got to get the flag. You got to get the flag. You got to get the flag. And here's why. ICE alone. And the destruction of the fundamental fabric of what this place is about. This is a nation of immigrants. Yeah, you got to come in the right way. Yeah, if you're not here the right way, there's got to be a consequence. You can enforce the law and still enhance a sense of dignity. Just what's happening with ICE alone gives them the flag. And if he doesn't like it, he should change how he's using ICE. But maybe people in different communities see it differently. What are you hearing in Otland about when it comes to how people are being treated and rights and enforcement of law?
It's not just like the cruelty of that's to say nothing about Renee Good, but like the manner by which this is being produced for social media and like, here's the clip. Oh, no, okay, well, I got this bystander video. Okay, well, we're going to trump that bystander video is just like, it's so disgusting because it's like an episode of Cops every single day, except it's not, some petty crime that's made for TV. It's like, U.S. citizens are getting caught up in this. And I think it's pretty, the F, I think that's a pretty constant grade for me throughout this whole thing.
The flag from the land of Ot.
Yeah.
For that, because look, you nailed it with the thing. They're making policy for reality TV. They want the pageantry. I believe they want the violence.
Yeah.
My concern is that they're going to see a lot more of that. Amrish, in your world, look, you got to do it the right way. You got to enforce the law versus how they're doing it. What's the vibe?
I feel like it's just a bunch of untrained dudes doing a thing that they think they know what they're doing roughly, but at the end of the day, the people around them, including my friends, especially in the art world, no one likes what's happening. No one likes to see people getting ripped off the streets. And the people that are feeding into it, I feel like are so disassociated or disconnected from like the collectivism of what is like us as a country, that they're just more interested in like keeping themselves safe. So if they feel safe, everything is fine, they can go to work, nothing is a problem, then they won't complain. And anyone they see complaining, they're like, why are you complaining? You have it so well.
I got to tell you, I don't feel anything else. Even people who are law and order people, which means you're not being targeted, even they don't like how it's being done. And I got to tell you, I give him an F for what he's done to the state of civility and democracy, but I may give him an A in the ability to snatch defeat out of the jaws of victory, because shutting down the border was a home run move for him.
You gave him a D on immigration last time.
I gave him a D on immigration because A, for shutting down the border, F, with how you were talking about it and what was going to be the future policy. And guess what? I was right because the D, because I remember you guys giving me shit about that, and I understand it. He shut down the border. They're not coming in at the same rate anymore illegally. That's a good thing because the law is you have to have a process. Okay, I agreed. And you were like, well, then why'd you give him a D? Because you're a hater. Because of what he was saying he was going to do and how he was saying he was going to do it. And now we're living it. So I stand by that, but I'll give him an A for taking an issue that it should be an easy win for him. You have literally a majority of the country on your side about enforcing the law and getting rid of violent criminals who are here illegally. Nobody's fighting against that. And if they are, it's because they want to lose an election. So I gave you an A for identifying an issue that could actually have everybody on the same page, but then you fucked it up. And you snatched defeat out of the jaws of victory. All you had to do was let law enforcement do what it knows how to do the right way. And instead, you turned them into this raiding force that makes people hate them. It's exposing all this tension with citizens. And I got to tell you, I may also have to give you an A for your diabolical agenda to have civil war. If what you are spoiling at is taking us and them to the level where it is literally a straight up fight for dominance in America, you get an A, because we are racing in that direction. I cannot tell you how often men and women speak using language of violence and aggression to me with context of every political issue. Everything has become social media slang.
Yeah, you're talking to the guy who filters the YouTube comments and the calls.
Right.
I've heard it. And there has actually been, since the start of the pod, a marked increase in the, there's haters, coming from every angle, but like they have, it's ratcheted up. And that's, you're a one small case sample.
I mean, look, I think it's very hard to avoid it, but Amrish, I mean, how common is it when people are talking about what they're opposed to and what they want to see done, that they're speaking language like, they were dealing with, taking on a rival gang?
People have been marketed to so well that rage bait, it just functions as a medium to bring a message across in not the greatest way, I'd argue, but it brings the message across, and people know that you pay attention to it. So like if I say something mean enough to you in a response, but I also have like my little 2 cents in there, there's a good chance I might grab your attention for like a quick second, because most people at least have some form of like parasocial notion where if I write something, even if the person doesn't respond, they might look at it. And so on that off chance that it does happen, you get to get the zinger in, and they can't really do anything about it, because if they do, they're publicly putting their ass out. So like now everyone gets to see the person react, and you could build like 100 good houses, but that one bad house will be like the thing everyone remembers you for. So if you act up, it just reflects bad on you, and they get what they want. And what's that saying? Like, don't wrestle with a pig. It wants to be dirty.
That's right. If you get down in the mud with a pig, the pig likes it. and you get filthy.
It sounds like the threesome.
Well,
Sounds like the threesome thing all
it's
over
funny
again.
he says that because I have a whole chocolate pudding thing going that we'll deal with after. The problem for me is the troll talk. Okay, that is a problem in and of itself. I think we have transcended it. I think people are thinking about fucking people up and being violent, and I've never heard it with this kind of ease and familiarity of men and women talking about how these people need to go. They need to get, we need to go there and mess them up and throw them out and beat them down. And I mean, the language is very directive of action.
Well, I think you and guests on this show have said over the years, as from Trump's assassination attempt to the killing of Charlie Kirk, that like this sort of action triggers more action. You get the copycats out there, and there might not be the exact same scenario, but like, okay, we've kind of breached that wall. So, okay, well, let's go over here.
I
Let's
get
try
it. I don't think
here.
it's copycat. I think it's echo effect.
Echo effect, yeah. That's a good way of
It
putting
breeds more of it, and it does take you back. Somebody I never want to see as prophetic. When Donald Trump said, I could go out on Fifth Avenue, shoot somebody in the head, my people would still be with me. It was absurd in the moment. But now, I don't know. Someone told me, though, someone in the house, a firefighter said to me, you know what, you're wrong about that. People are turning away. Some are, it's boiling down and intensifying what they are. His argument was, I think that I see that more on the opposition side for Trump, that the opposition side is knuckling up and kind of matching the energy of what they think MAGA is. But that within the group that supports the president, it's getting harder and harder to own it, and they're not knuckling up the same way. That was his take. I don't know.
I think it was Tom Tillis is retiring.
Mm-hmm.
He was asked point blank about McConnell the other day, talking about, the Greenland thing. And Tillis couldn't even say straight up, like, I don't think Trump is doing something smart here. He was like avoiding using Trump's name, kind of like Carney, like in that thing at the World Economic Forum. Everybody talks around him, but says the leadership and he's getting bad advice and all these things. And yet you would think somebody who like has nothing to lose anymore. It's like, well, I'm going to be out of office very soon. At the end of the year after the Senate elections, like, what do you have to lose anymore, man? Just like go ahead and say, Trump, I don't agree with the man. And yet, to your point about shooting somebody on Fifth Avenue, like even somebody who is on the outs won't say a bad word about the guy.
They are worried about what will be done to them.
Violence.
Violence, state action.
Yeah, investigations, yeah.
This guy, he goes after everybody, right?
Yeah.
And people are getting shot. People are getting hurt. So I think that that's very real. And maybe, this guy is right. And it's more about the reaction formation to Trump and the opposition. But I got to tell you, it's hard to look at what ICE is doing in Minnesota and see this being about the reaction. I mean, this is about what's being initiated. They seem to be, look, I've never seen cops do what they're doing with the
slipping and falling on the ice and their gun going off. You see that, right?
With their frequency, but the frequency of this, you see cops lose it in crowd control issues every once in a while. You see these guys losing it every time they mix it up.
After Renee Good was killed, the cop was going up, or the ICE agent was going up, multiple agents going up to people's like, you see what happened back there? You want that to happen to you? Like, didn't you learn your lesson? Like, that's pretty fucked up. That is a level of intimidation that's not just like, you're going to get in trouble. It's like, the last time somebody pressed it.
You didn't learn your lesson.
Yeah, she was executed through the window of her car for trying to back out.
I think that it is poor training.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I think these guys have poor training. 47 days is not enough. That's what we've learned. I don't think our police get enough training in de-escalation and self-defense and how to use non-lethal tactics. I think they should be taught to do a lot more things physically to use, the more competent you are physically, the less you need to use tools, right? But these guys, I think, are great proof of how important training is. And I just think that, the expression, be careful what you ask for. And, they're saying, fuck around and find out. That is one of the worst things I've ever heard.
Yeah.
That was where, to me, it was like, okay. And this is why I'm worried about seeing Jake Lang, seeing Don Lemon, going there to make money off the provocation. I get it. I get it. The media has always kind of done that, and now we're in an attention economy where it doesn't matter if it's good attention or bad attention. It's just about clicks. I get it, but I'm watching people have to own on the right, Jake Lang. Look, you know that that's not your boy, okay? That guy is a felon. What he did on January 6th was wrong. He got arrested, he got prosecuted, he got convicted for a reason, okay? And then he got pardoned for a reason, which I think sent a really bad signal. And I think that ramps up the animus and takes you closer and closer to violence. And I know that each side will say to me, no, it's them, Chris. It's them. Don't you equate us. We're not equal. These people are evil, and you have to fight evil. You must meet force with force. That's what I hear all the time. And when that actually manifests itself, I think the country's in for a real tough spell.
I think of that FAFO congressperson, whoever he was, like, it reminds me of like the cavalier attitude people have in certain states when it comes to like concealed carry and open carry and stand your ground laws. I remember there's some stories out there of somebody, I forget who it was, but like somebody was like made a wrong turn and backed up into somebody's driveway and was just trying to get out of there. Guy was in the house, opened fire, killed the person, and we come to find out that's what was going on. So many stories like a boy knocking on the door, he's lost or something. Somebody blows them away because I felt like I was under threat. And like, I feel like, this is not to say it's like one-to-one with what happened with Renee Good, but I do think there is a pervasive sense with these laws being everywhere and the number of guns everywhere that this really is a Wild West country where people feel empowered, whether they're law enforcement or they're protecting themselves, to instead of, how do we de-escalate? We're going to end this problem right now and I'm going to win. And it scares the shit out of me. And I actually, in a weird way, I feel safer in New York City than almost anywhere else because here there's some pretty good gun laws, or I don't feel like I'm going to get blown away. You know, I'm going to get stabbed on the subway, and I'm not going to get shot. You know what I mean?
I think that there's a secret that is now no longer a secret. Amrish, what's your take on this? That we are a really violent society. In fact, everything you look at about our culture, whether it's our sport, our entertainment, what we prize within the genders, you know, not to go down that road of how many genders you think there are, but, you know, what is a man? What more and more increasingly, these things, what is strength? It's harshness, it's aggression, it's violence, it's how you talk to each other, how you debate has gotten really, really base. And it seems to be accelerating in that direction. Amrish, what do you think of that?
There's a concept that most people know and participate in, but ignore for most aspects of life, and that's the term average. So did you ever have to do the PACER exam where like in school you had to run back and forth in the gym?
Yes.
No, I was in a video and theater.
But during that test, almost always the people at the end of that test, there was like 3 or 4 of them. It wasn't the whole class. Those 3 or 4 people that passed it were considered average, meaning like when you take that like kind of example and you apply it to like the general knowledge base people have and apply to real life, most people do not approach the average mark when it comes to most topics in life. Not even close to the 50 percentile mark. Generally, people that are close to average in comparison to everyone else are considered quite well. Like, for example, let's keep it simple, like a guitarist. If someone is average at guitar, they're better than like 80% of the human population at playing guitar. When you take that concept and you apply it to like ethics, morality, common sense, you're going to find that more than not, people fail.
I think it's like the Stanford test, the prisoner's dilemma. Do you remember that from social psychology where they did this test about how people would deal with when they were confined and increasingly harsh rules and who would go along with it and who wouldn't? And it like took like, you know, not literally, but like figure it like 10 minutes. And it was like, yeah, that guy's got to die. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, I'm going to shock you and beat you because those are the rules. And that's how we're very simple animals. And to Amrish's point, community is hard. And it is really easy. When you look at this philosophically, political philosophy, Rousseau is kind of like the top of the food chain when it comes to leaving the state of nature to come into a society. What's state of nature? State of nature is the strong survive. And what you want, you take. And what you can, when you come across somebody else, if you need what they have, you take it. And if they are a threat to you, you kill them. And to remove yourself from that mindset, come into society, there are compromises. And one of them is reducing the savage in favor of the civil. Why? What's the overwhelming virtue? Strength in numbers. We're safer together. We're stronger together, right? That's where that rhetoric comes from. And it's hard. That's why you need laws, right? There are lots of mammals that live in community. They don't have a constitution. They don't have a need for rules or any very defined rule structure. They just have a dominance. They have a matriarchy, patriarchy, both, and they got to go. We are unusually destructive. I got to tell you, the Wachowski brothers had something, man, in The Matrix. When they have the agent talking to Morpheus, and he's rubbing his head, and he's like, you're really not an animal. You're really not a mammal. You're something else. You're a virus because you don't work in concert with your own environment. You devour it and you move on to the next. Man, that was a truth bomb for me. And I think that we give ourselves too much credit for civility. And as frustrating as it is and as acquiescent as it seems and as weak or submissive as it can seem, taking the higher road and reinforcing virtues is really important because you're seeing what happens when you go the other way. And by the way, I'm not raising my hand for people who are good at virtue signaling. I am flawed and aggressive and weak on a lot of levels, but I'm not asking to lead. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not one of these poser influencers who's positioning myself as a leader, but I just don't want any responsibility. I'm telling you that I'm not a leader. I don't want to lead. We have better in our society that I will follow. I'm happy to be part of the team. But the reason people don't speak the way Trump and his people do with the FAFO is because they know how fragile this all is. I'll tell you where you learn it on my job. In mobs. When you are in a protest, the line between protest and riot is really thin, okay? And I've watched it in real time. I push him out of the way. I talk to him a certain way, and he pushes back, and I don't know how to de-escalate and deal with it in the right way. And there are 100 of him who are all feeling the same way that he
energy,
is.
yeah.
And all of a sudden, they're like, motherfucker, you want to push? Let's push.
Yeah, people
Boom,
are...
and they come flying up. And just like that, the difference, it literally gives me goosebumps. I've watched it happen many times where all it took was someone saying, I put my hand on you, like, don't put your, you're right. But hey, I can't let you cross this line. All right, you got to work with me here. I get what you want. And it sounds weak. Cuomo's giving them. Don't be strong. You got to know where you are and what your situation is. And we're losing that. And everything that we see from our president on down, and I've never liked the expression that Scaramucci made popular, the fish rots from the head down. No, it doesn't. A fish rots from the stomach out. And that's why you should go with your gut is how you should extend that metaphor. But it matters that the president's like, fuck him. And let's take him out and let's do this and let's do that. And everything is force. It's like prison mentality. And I think we're going to see a lot more violence, and it worries me. Support for the Chris Cuomo Project comes from Cozy Earth. Now, look, I use it. I use it on my bed. I use it on my body. The towels, the bedwear, the sheets. Why? The reason I use Cozy Earth is because they do good and they do well. What does that mean? I like that they use bamboo because it's so much more sustainable than other textile things. And that really matters to me. Now, here is why I think the leisure wear is worth looking at. It washes well. Great price point, but it washes well. A couple more things about Cozy Earth. One is that they really stand by their product. They give you like 100-night sleep trial. And it's like, how do you lose in this? They'll give you a money-back guarantee if you don't like it after 100 nights. I mean, seriously? So the PJs that I'm digging sold out during the holidays. Okay, now they're back. They got an exclusive deal only available January 25 to February 8, so right before Valentine's Day. So get in there. How? Go to CozyEarth.com. Use my code ChrisBogo, ChrisBogo, and you will get these pajamas for you and someone you love, and you'll get them on the discount, and you'll also get a post-purchase survey. Please tell them Cuomo sent you.
You gave Crime and Justice an F last time. Do you change your grade?
All day.
We'll hold it up so that people...
All day. All day. Why? Because you have stolen defeat out of the jaws of victory. You had the majority of the population once again. Yeah, immigration laws matter, and you got to do it the right way, but you've got to have due process. You got to respect who we are and how we do things the right way. And you have done the opposite, and you've done it on purpose. And you had the Secretary of Homeland Security put on a podium, one of ours, all of yours. I have never heard the American government cast their own people as the enemy before, until then. But this is where we are. Or am I wrong? I mean, Amrish, do you hear people saying, hey man, I like that we stiffened up our spine when it comes to dealing with criminals?
So when I look at like comments on the internet, it's very segmented. So like one of my favorite places to actually go right now is the Facebook group for Fox News. The amount of angry people and people, like, you can't tell if it's bots or just old grumpy people, but you'll see something where they'll like flip it, and it'll be more like, you see what these lefties are doing kind of thing, but it's like written in a semi-professional way, just so it comes off as what it is.
Well, and to a point Chris makes all the time about algorithms and stuff. Let's say you go to this Facebook group and you're looking at the way people are agreeing, disagreeing, whatever. Those are filtered.
Yeah.
So Facebook will filter it based on your profile. So it's like, do you want to see the top ones? Do we want to see the ones that we think you're going to like? So if I'm in there and it's like, I'm sympathetic, I'm going to see the comments that Facebook thinks I'm going to like, which are the ones that I agree with or might inflame me. You might see a completely different order of them. Same thing on Twitter. Like, your feed is going to be what does the computer think that I should be reacting to the strongest? And you might, again, that might be a group of like mostly like-minded people. You go in there to be like, oh, what's going to, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's out of our hands right now.
Yes. And also, look, we've set ourselves up for failure, okay? And yes, I know I harp on these algorithms all the time. And, people tell me, you got to stop doing that because people are taking it personally because they like social media. I don't know that that's...
People are saying, you're asking us, like, who do you talk to, like, about, like, this stuff? Who do you talk to that says they like social media? I can't think of a soul. I'm serious, like, in my life, who's like, I love it's so good for me. Like, I don't know anybody who thinks it's good.
Some of them I feel like, but that's where they live. That's where their world is. So they may not want to say it because they know that there's something pathetic about that, but there's something else underneath it, that these algorithms, they want what's there. And that's what's giving it to them. And I keep blaming it, and I'm blaming people. But look, here's my point, okay? What's the number one predictor of whether or not you'll stay on a diet or any type of fitness program? Who you are with. Okay, your parents ever say to you, show me the 5 people you spend the most time with and you'll be the average of those 5 people? It's true. Show me the company you keep. You are the company you keep. Okay, so is that a real thing? Yeah, I believe it's a real thing. It's maybe a soft science, but it's a sociological truth. The people around you are going to influence you. Okay, we have replaced that feedback mechanism with these algorithms, which are constantly serving you up the worst version of yourself and of what is around you, especially when it comes to our politics. Look, I get it. I'm a hobbyist also, just like you, right? My feed, I follow all these different firefighters in these different houses, and they teach me all kinds of stuff, and it's great. Cars and American hot rod restorations and fishing. I get it. I have my people, just like you. And there's amazing value to me in those connections. I'm talking about our politics. And in all of those things, firefighters, you know what they don't talk about? Politics. Fishing guys, you know what they're not talking about? Politics. The car guys, you know, when they're talking about whether or not this crank or what this, they're not bringing in Trump, okay? Why? Because they are more than that. However, when it comes to our politics and now our society, we have become judgy and attacking because the social media makes you that way. It empowers you that way. It amplifies that way. That's what influencers all do. Name me one influencer other than MD Motivator, one influencer in politics, okay, which takes out MD Motivator, who I love, who's got you on the positive hook, who's a uniter, who's somebody who's saying we got to start building bridges, who has become a big deal because of that.
I don't know. I mostly watch Sandwiches of History. It's this guy who gets these old history books. I'm talking about like recipe books from like the 1800s. And he's like, I'm going to make the whale sandwich. And he finds, a piece of whale and he makes it. So it's like, my feed is fucked. Like there's no, maybe I'm a bad sample here, but I take your point. Like it is, the vision thing you often harp on about the way the Lemons of the world will try to like make them pop off in a different way than you guys did when you were at CNN. Like it is a very different means of interacting with the audience in terms of like, I'm giving you what you want, which is what the algorithm wants.
And I get it. I don't blame the player necessarily. I blame the game. Why? Because we don't have any better standard than that. So for me to say about, Don Lemon or anybody, I just happen to know Don in a way that I don't know these other guys. He spent the first year building his digital thing. He got almost no traction. Why? Because he wasn't giving the algorithm what it wanted. And then all of a sudden he starts calling Trump a tiny dick and going out and getting into the street and getting into confrontations with people that either show some type of animus, right? So you think Trump's a scumbag. Yeah, he's a scumbag. And you think that, and that starts feeding the algorithm what it is. And his trajectory has been very good. And look, I want him to be successful. I just wish he'd picked a different way to be successful. But is that fair of me? Probably not. Why? Because that's how the business works. Megyn Kelly is picking fights with everybody because it works. And let me tell you something. And yes, she's a girl and I'm a boy and I am a chauvinist. Fine. You can call me whatever bad word you want to. I don't relate to women with an aggression that I would other men if they say the same things. I don't do that. That's not how I am. But I'm telling you, she wouldn't be the way she is about me to me. None of these guys are. None of these guys, not one, who takes a bite out of my ass on their shows are like that when I see him in person. It has never happened. Do you understand? And it's not because I'm walking in there like this. It's that this is a fucking game. It's performative. But we've now set ourselves up where all the rules that Amrish grew up in his world, that Greg grew up with in his world, that I grew up in my world, and right, we're 2.5 generations, right, are gone. If you don't have something nice to say, don't say anything. If you can't be kind, be quiet. If you can help, help. You touch somebody, get ready for a consequence. Those things are gone, okay? Now it is, I'm going to judge you, but don't judge me. I'm going to shit talk you, but I don't want any consequence. I want free speech, but I don't want to hear anything that I don't like. Everything has gotten warped into this Thunderdome. And I'm telling you, the only form of censorship I have ever even thought about, okay, is forcing these guys to change their algorithms. Why? Because nobody else, other than Nazis, have ever intentionally commercialized hate. That's what they do. That's what they do. That's what the algorithms are designed to do. And I think that they should not get a pass. I think they are publishers. I think they curate their content more than anyone I've ever worked for. They decide what you're going to see with a control mechanism that no other media agency has ever had. And I think it's got to stop because I'm telling you, there will be more blood. Support comes from Mando. I'll tell you why I like it. They sent it to me and it makes you smell good. And it helps control sweat. I sweat like a farm animal. I sweat like it was going out of style. So I need something that helps. And why I like Mando is different products for different things. They got whole body deodorant. They've got your typical underarm deal there, right? But they also have sprays that works for your pits, your balls, everything, everywhere where you would need it. It's created by a doctor. Saw firsthand that normal BO is being misdiagnosed and mistreated. So we came up with something else that can control or block odor for up to 72 hours. All right, so you got the solid deodorant, which is the key on it. Why is it called Mando? Well, you got man and do in there, but the key ingredient in the deodorant is mandelic acid. That's what stops odor before it starts. Now, a lot of people, let me just hide it with a strong scent. I don't believe you should mask it. I think you should Mando it. Head to shopmando.com because for a limited time, new customers are going to get 20% off site-wide with this exclusive code. Okay, what's that code? Cuomo. Go to shopmando.com, 20% off site-wide, plus free shipping. Just use the code Cuomo. And how do you get there? shopmando.com. Please support the show. Tell them that Cuomo sent you, okay? Mando's got you covered. Deodorant plus sweat control. You can't beat it.
So we talked a lot about domestic stuff. Let's go to the broader world here, the foreign policy grade. You gave him a B last time. So much has happened in the previous 6 months and the last 6 months before that. So do you still give him a B with Venezuela and Greenland and Iran and all that? Like,
well, see,
Gaza,
see.
Yeah.
So it's about how you are weighting, weighting, each of these exams, okay? If they're all equal, right? If what he did in Venezuela is equal to getting the hostages back in Israel. See, I think you have to weight some of these things differently.
All right, we'll make this, put the weights and measures in your head. And
what did I give him last time?
You gave him an overall B on foreign policy.
I gotta give him a lower grade, and I'll tell you why. Getting the hostages back in Israel, strong. Now, that is a messy situation. I'm not saying how I feel about Israel or Gaza. I believe that Israel has a right to exist. It has a right to self-determination. Every time it gets attacked, it wins and does not get any real advantage from those victories the way it has always gone, right? We're about to try to annex Greenland because you owe us or else. But Israel isn't allowed to really take territory, even though they fight absolute wars with people who want to destroy who they are, what they are, not just their land. It's not a fight over land. It's a fight over getting rid of Jews, okay? So I have very strong feelings about that, very definite feelings about that. But him stopping that the way he did is huge. It's more important to me than Venezuela. Venezuela I see as a stupid move. I give him an F for Venezuela. What? No, he just executed an arrest warrant in another country. We're not allowed to do that. Very, very limited. Look, I care about things being done the right way. Another reason I'm not a leader. I got to give him a D, and I'll tell you why. I'm very impressed by getting Israel, or really getting Hamas to slow down and to stop aggravating the situation was impressive. As were the Abraham Accords, which actually led to the attack from Hamas. Not that that's not Trump's fault, but Hamas, that's their fault. So that's great. Ukraine, still suffering. Russia, you've gotten nowhere with them. Tariffs, haven't done what you wanted to do. China just had a record year despite your tariffs. Venezuela, fucking embarrassing. Greenland, fucking embarrassing. How you talk to our neighbors, fucking embarrassing. I don't see might as right. I hate bullies, okay? I believe in vulnerability as strength. I believe the strongest guy in the room is not the toughest talker in the room. So I don't like the style. I think it's corrosive. And since that last time, most of the developments have been negative, except this huge one in getting that battle to stop, at least for a moment, in the Middle East. And I do think that that was extraordinary and good. But you failed every other test. And I can't give you a B. I want to. I want my president to be a force for better in the world. Not what people are pointing at with a caution. I don't want us to be a yellow signal in the world. But I got to give you the D because you keep doing things that are dumb, which starts with D. So I'll go with that. What do you give him?
Well, it sounds very threesome, like give him the D. I look back at not just the foreign policy, but
dirty.
like I saw the social media clip the other day of man on the streets type thing in the UK. And they're like, hey, what would it take to get you to move to the US? And they're all like, the US? I'm not going to move to the US. And they were shitting on our guns and our politics. And, you know, again, to our point a moment ago, it's like it's inflated, but it's like, okay, that is a sentiment out there when you're outside of the United States. Like you said in the last video you just made, it's a big world. There's a lot of people out there. It ain't just us. And the tourism numbers, if you look at the US, tourism is like plummeting, especially in places like Vegas, which a lot of Canadians like to go to. Now, I chalk that up to the 00. They put the fucking 00 on the roulette table, so it's harder to win now. They fucked with the odds. There's a big pandemic thing to get their money back, but we'll put that 00 point aside. I think when you see like the world does not see us as being an open place, as in, I want to go see the Grand Canyon. I want to go lose $500 on roulette. Like, when we're no longer an option, I think that speaks to like the broader attitude of Trump being like, yeah, stay the fuck out. We got our own thing going. And that's just a long-term thing of going like, why should I? It's like, I'm not saying we're going to become Russia tomorrow. Like I'm going to go to St. Petersburg and get thrown in something. It's more just like, if people don't want to come here, we're just slowly going to be that isolated state. And I don't think that's good for anyone because like it's never been a more connected world. It's never been easier to get a very cheap flight to Europe. It's never been easier to, you know, work remotely in Australia if you wanted to, and you could stay there for a long time with the rules we have right now. And the more you start chipping away at this, you know, everybody's going to move on without us. And it's like, don't get me wrong. Again, this is a big place. We can hang out by ourselves, but I don't want to. I like what other people bring to the country, and I like what other countries have to offer.
That's all we are, is everywhere else. There is no homegrown Americans. Everybody here has mixed blood in a way no other country's composition reflects. Look, there's a word we haven't used yet. The president encouraged it. He is reflective of it. And the word is radicalization. And that's what we're seeing. And that's why I'm so interested in Iran, by the way, not because of the suffrage movement there, which is obviously emotionally and for me, intellectually very compelling, but they were a thriving, heterogeneous society, okay? And radicalization and fundamentalism ushered in a wave of religious extremism. You know, the Ayatollah and those cats, you know, they're not from Iran, right? They were brought in from like the UK. They were educated other places. They're from other places. They came in to take over once the environment, the atmosphere was susceptible to fundamental thought. And I see us going down the same road. I'm not going to say that, you know, we're a couple of spins away from an Ayatollah, but we're getting radicalized. And you can take that word and say, wait, when you say radicalized, you better say left, Cuomo, because the left, that is reaction formation. You're making excuses? No, I'm explaining because I'm not endorsing it. Okay, I'm the one who's trending right now for something I said a year ago about AOC. Why? Because I do believe that pushing the level of aggression towards what she opposes in the name of populism is radical and is not radical in a good way. And I believe that that party should cleave. I believe that the right should cleave and that you should have multiple parties and have coalitions. I think we'd be better served. I do. Because why? Because this binary battle at the bottom is killing us. And each of the two sides is becoming internally toxified by its most extreme ideas. Extreme, radical, fundamental. These are words that are coming more and more in our vernacular. And I find it very, very frightening. Amrish, foreign policy, what do you give them?
It's got to be, I got to agree with you guys on the D.
I'm a hard F on the I'm a hard F on the foreign policy.
Hard F. Oh, I'm sorry.
No, but Chris gave him the D.
F minus he gives him.
But when it comes to opening up conversation, especially with my European friends, it almost always gets brought up like maybe an hour or two into conversation where they're just like, so how's things going on over there? And when you mention one or two things, it just turns into laughter and just people just saying, oh, well, that's typical. And you're not left with a good impression. So on that alone, it's bad. On the actual things that are happening, on the events that are happening, you covered most of it, and none of it is positive in the sense of the perception I have of what's happening is not great. Some people see it as, well, we're fortifying ourselves, we're reestablishing our identity. But I think everything we've done as like a human population has been to move towards, I'm not saying for all of us to live under like one country banner or anything like that, but we've been moving to a collectiveness in the sense of like, I could get along with you and you could get along with me. All right, cool. Let's do stuff. People coming together, but they're not coming together for the things that you want them to get together for. The only time they get together is to yell at each other. And you can't give anyone that's doing that an A.
You know, I have a really good friend of mine who worked at the Heritage Foundation for quite some time, and now he's some higher up at another think tank, Americans for whatever, and, you know, he's playing with the Laffer curve and stuff and, you know, taking his side. But, you know, I've known this guy since I was 13 years old. We don't agree on anything. I mean, I find it, you know, we'll agree to disagree, but you go down the list and it's just, we see the world completely differently. My friends from growing up don't want to talk to the guy. They're like, yeah, he's a nut, Christian nationalist, whatever, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, I couldn't have been more excited to get a beer with this guy when he was in town last week, because at the end of the day, we were neighbors, we were friends, we have a history. And it is that whole, like, the way we are choosing to self-separate now and not want to even acknowledge somebody we might not agree with 100%. Now, granted, as a friend, I don't agree with 5%, but that doesn't mean like every single person you come across is the enemy, which you were saying that earlier. And, you know, to the ice point again, like when you get these strangers who are not local policemen, they're coming from all over the place, roughing people up. They're not necessarily community members. Like it adds to this, like, everybody is now suspicious and skeptical of each other. And it's like, I don't know how that glue keeps these, you know, lower 48 together, let alone the one that's up there, the ones that are floating over there, and the one where they're trying to grab over there, you know?
Support comes from Cowboy Colostrum. I got to tell you, I dig it. My wife is an integrative nutritionist. She's looked at it. She digs it. The flavor works. The mixing, you get your little frother, and you're good to go. And here's the good news. Cowboy Colostrum is high-quality cow colostrum, okay? In the U.S., from the U.S., made 100% of American grass-fed cow, okay? So how does that make it different? Well, it's true first-day whole colostrum, rich in bioactives like immunoglobulins and growth factors. Cowboy Colostrum only collects the surplus colostrum after baby calves have had their fill. I don't really care about that, but these good folks do. Cowboy Colostrum is not processed. It's not stripped down. The colostrum is whole, full fat, high in protein for ultimate nutrient density. You got your chocolate? It works for me. You got your vanilla? That's fine. You got your strawberry? Haven't tried it yet. For a limited time, my listeners get up to 25% off their entire order. All you got to do is just go to www.cowboycolostrum.com/Cuomo. Use my name at checkout, Cuomo. You get 25% off. All right, just use the code Cuomo and get the big deal. 25% off. That's COWBOYCOLOSTRUM.com/Cuomo.
Chris, let me move on to a couple more domestic issues here. We have, these will be kind of quick ones. Last time you gave environment and climate a C. I think at the time we've, pulled out of the Paris Accords for real. Trump just, he hates windmills and everything. There's a thing that just got shot down here in New York of them actually, he was against them building windmills, but now they're allowed to keep building them. But do you change the C? Do you have a new letter to hold up for us? Or are you still on the C for the environment?
Well, on the environment, I mean, what has he done in this year that, it's one of the only things that we haven't been in a frenzy about for a minute, which is the environment. Drill, baby, drill. America was already producing and exporting more oil than it ever had before during the Biden administration. So drill, baby, drill is not a thing. I mean, if you look at the numbers, and by the way, it's not a thing in terms of bringing down gas prices. It's a world market. So I don't see that it has been a point of emphasis, which is good or bad. So I have to give them an incomplete.
Something I find interesting about this is, he ended Biden's electric car incentives and all that, which was driving a lot of. Yeah, there we go. Beautiful.
Incomplete.
Yeah.
Why? Because we really haven't dealt with it. The electric cars thing, though, is an economic thing, not an environmental thing. Because one, the electric cars are not necessarily better for the environment. The production capability, the amount of power they need, how we keep ignoring our infrastructure, the power grid. I've had more than one electrician say to me, we used to have a Tesla, I got rid of it. Why? Because it was a box of shit. That's why the thing had a problem every 15 minutes. But the charging and the, how many miles, where are we going to get? All that shit. But the guy said, it's a good thing that a couple more people on your block don't have these, because you'd have brownouts here all the time because the transformer won't take it. And so we're not even ready. The science isn't really there where it needs to be. And people went bad on them. And when he removed the subsidy, that was an economic move. Capitalism is choices, okay? And the government makes choices about which industries to help and not help. He doesn't want to help solar and alternative energies and stuff like that. So he isn't. That's a choice that affects your economy and what you're growing and not growing. And EVs don't bother me the same way. I don't think we're ready for more than hybrids right now in terms of the efficiency of how you make it, what it takes to make it, and what it takes to own it and use it. But so I don't see that as an environmental thing, because I think it's a mixed bag with where our level of technology and production is. But as an economy in general, I believe that he has put too much stress on our economy with these tariffs. And I have to tell you, the Donald Trump that I know, when I started putting him on TV at ABC News during the Great Recession, okay? He came on because he gave a great populist analysis of how bad these banks were and how shame on all of us for focusing on Wall Street and the stock market when that doesn't mean shit to the rest of America. Ugh, NPR. This is why he's such a lefty.
I think you said something and it triggered Siri to go off.
Such a lefty.
Play NPR news? That's
NPR.
All right,
See, he's a lefty. There it is.
I
Right
don't
there.
listen to
I think
NPR.
someone's listening in on this conversation.
Well, look, my thing comes on right now, be like, that camshaft will never work. He's got NPR news. Anyway, but he has put way too much stress on this, and he has ignored those structural issues because they're hard. And he hasn't dealt with the cost of living. And he's just started talking about it, which I applaud him for. It's better that we talk about it. And people say, why? He's not going to do anything. Hey, listen, I at least would have us even if nothing's going to happen, I'd rather us be talking about that than talking about Greenland, where I hope that nothing's going to happen. And we got to talk about it all the time. So on the economy, I can't give him a passing grade on any of this in this first year. And let me tell you something.
Well, you gave him a D in the economy last time.
I would hold it there. And the reason is...
Hold it for the camera.
Here's the reason. Okay? Here's the reason. It's not I'm anti-Trump. Don't cheapen the criticism by making it personal. That's not what it is, okay? It could be, but that's not what it is. The majority of American people feel the exact same way that I just referred to you. The majority of American people, okay, are not happy with this first year. And I think that there are obvious reasons for that. And the problem is, one of the most dangerous things in politics is refusing to learn a lesson. And Donald Trump, sometimes he shows the ability to adapt and pivot. Sometimes he doubles down. And right now he's in double down mode. I thought he was going to pivot on the cost of living stuff and try and take that issue away from the left by using his control of his side of Congress to force it as a main issue, but it hasn't happened. So, overall grade for the Trump administration, Amrish.
Overall, it's got to be D. I can't say F because I'm still here. I'm sitting in your place. I haven't been removed forcefully. I was born and raised here, so I don't know where they would put me, and I'm mixed, so they would have to chop me in half. So, but it still seems there's some reasonableness to go around. It's just like I was trying to point out before, people are not taking the time to just stop and think when they feel a certain way. If you get angry, stop and think. And that's literally my only recommendation to you as a human.
Very good. Seneca said, the best way to deal with anger is time. What grade do you give the administration?
F 2000. I am the manner by which he inserts himself into our everyday lives is a tax. The Trump tax is he is at the fucking football games. He's making some announcement about going in somewhere. And guess what? Tomorrow I'm changing my mind. It's a great political strategy. It works very well for him. But it's not a form of exhaustion. It's not that I'm sick of Trump. It's that he is unavoidable. And this past 6 months, he has just ramped it up even more than in the first 6 months of his second term. And I think the mental tax of having to consider this, and I don't think it's just for like, a junkie like me who works on a show like this. I think it seeps into the fiber of everybody's clothes. It's just everywhere all the time. And I don't want to know. If I'm the average person, I don't want to know who the DHS secretary is. I don't want to, you know what I mean? Like, you shouldn't have to worry about this. You shouldn't have to think about this. And that's to say nothing of, the things that ICE are doing and foreign policy and whatever. I think just by the way in which he has reasserted dominance over the culture and the conversation, it is so boring. It's like the Marvel movies. Enough. We've seen the Marvel movies. I don't care about the purple guy. The purple guy's gone. All right, we got somebody else, and guess what? It's worse. You've already gone to here. How can you top this? And he just keeps trying to find ways to do it. It's enough. I'm not speaking from a like left or right position. It's like I want something new and fresh, and instead we decided to make Avengers of the Galaxy 15 again with this fucking asshole. But that's my opinion.
Look, I think there are a lot of people who share it, and I will try to end us on a note where all of you
hold up your grade.
All of you can be dissatisfied, okay? And here's why. We're dealing with a president who believes he's doing the best that's ever been done. I do not think that that's a sell that he's putting on you. I think he really believes that, okay? And I have better reason to know what he thinks than most of you do. And that is something you got to work with, okay? And as somebody who teaches and trains people on a regular basis, you got to take somebody where you find them. And unfortunately, he has an amazing amount of power. So for me to say you suck when you think you're the best, I'm not setting myself up for anything to change because you're going to knuckle up and double down. I am desperate for this administration to do better. Now, I could make the argument and I could show you a bunch of metrics where for this part of the K, in the K-shaped economy, the haves, the investor class, he's done some things that have absolutely made life better for them in terms of their ability to succeed financially. There's no question. Stock market's doing what it's doing for a reason. Lending rates are where they are for a reason, although looking at the new yields on treasuries, I don't think anybody's getting a cheaper mortgage anytime soon. But you could make that case that for people in business and different entrepreneurs, you could also make the case that the tariffs are killing a lot of small businesses. So it's not that he hasn't done anything that anybody could like. I think he's done a lot of things that people like. Immigration, part of it. Economy, part of it, right? How he projects power to the world, part of it. That kind of stuff. People believing that he is energetic and fully involved. Nobody's going to argue with that. I mean, the guy is incredibly active, playing with the fact that he's losing his mind, he's crazy, he's diseased, he's sick. I think that's a waste of your energy, and I think nobody's going to really buy it based on his energy. So I'm giving him an incomplete, and I'll tell you why. We're only 1 year in. You are absolutely failing the test, in my opinion. You came into it with every reason for success. Everything was in recovery mode. And you were coming off an administration that had fucked up and knew that they had kept somebody in a position where they shouldn't have been. You had every reason to do better, and the country was desperate for better. And yet you have us more divided than we were when you came in. But I am desperate for better, and I am holding out hope that you can focus on the interests of the many. Go crazy about cost of living. Go crazy. You may not have the best ideas. You may have to make compromises that come from the Democrats. But get Congress to go crazy about cost of living and stop with the other distractions. And there is a hope that things can get better for the many in this country. And I am desperate for that. And I'm holding out hope for that because I don't know how else to live. But there's no way you can look at what's happening right now in this country and say that things are better for the many instead of just for the few. And to me, that's the ultimate test. And it's not being passed right now. I appreciate you guys weighing in. I like this conversation very much. And the truest thing said was that if ICE busted in here right now, Amrish is going down. I mean, there is no chance that he is going to escape in any kind of way unscathed. He's in his underwear, he's outside, and Greg and I are just doing what we got to do to survive.
Yeah, I got a coffee down the street.
What do you think about grades in different categories and overall, and what we should be seeing it as and doing it? Let us know. We're all about the feedback here. So thank you for subscribing and following. Check out the new tiers of subscriber on YouTube, and you can get different levels of access. You can get ad-free. You can get swag. You can get walk and talks. You can get all kinds of stuff. We're selling the swag to crowdsource money to give to charities and to people, everyday people that we can all feel good about, and to reinforce our independence and being free agents and getting out of this binary battle of the bottom, being a critical thinker, being different, being a free agent. Embrace it, wear your independence. It is our best hope for better, to avoid extremism and radicalization and get back to reasonableness. That is our best hope as a people. I'll see you here. I'll see you at News Nation, 8 p.m. and midnight Eastern every weekday. And in the mornings, the SiriusXM show has now begun. POTUS, channel 124, 7 to 9 Eastern every morning, taking your calls to talk about your world and what you think. My brothers and sisters, the challenges are real AF. Let's get after it.